So what are some of the challenges for Pilatus? And this is not obviously exclusive to Pilatus in any means, but also Cirrus and some of these other small aircraft. But what do they have to do to protect a small aircraft from lightning strikes?
Well, the Pilatus is mostly aluminum. Some of the Cirrus, like the Cirrus SR-22 type airplane, SR-20s, are fiberglass. Totally different animals in terms of lightning protection. The Cirrus has expanded metal foil on portions of the aircraft, if I remember correctly. I think there's pathways. It isn't like the whole aircraft is covered in foil. So they provide pathways for lightning to travel down these foils and this internal metal structure that they have built into the aircraft. The Pilatus is essentially a metal airplane, so there's not a lot of things done there because it's sort of inherently safe. It's probably as good as it's ever going to get. So the design philosophies about those two aircraft are completely different. Now, you're going to spend a lot more time and a lot more money and a lot more energy on a Cirrus type aircraft getting it certified, and like their new Vision Jet, which is a beautiful aircraft. And it's also a composite airplane. I'm sure they spend a good bit of time and money trying to get that thing certified. Whereas, if you're going to go off and certify basically a Cessna 172, 152 type metal airplane, it would be a lot easier to do. Yeah.
So does the shape of, because obviously on a commercial jet, the nose radome is composite, so that needs a lot of protection. But what about the nose of these aircraft? Do they have a lot of radar equipment in there? Do they have none? And obviously the more steeply cone-shaped they are, that's going to affect the charging, isn't it?
Yeah, like the PC-24 has got a pointed nose radome on it. It all involves the expense of the aircraft and how fast it flies, how far it's going to fly, whether you end up having a weather radar or not. Now, Garmin's made a very small weather radar that they can put in a lot of different places. That's unique. So it's actually giving a smaller aircraft the ability to have a radar, which probably they couldn't have had before. And there's a lot of sort of wireless radar systems are just pulling off data and it's displaying on a radar display. So it's not live. It's just data like we would watch on television, watching the Weather Channel. It's just kind of displayed on some flight systems there. But the radomes for like the PC-24 are going to get charged a lot because the airplane's fairly good size, so you're going to see a lot of charging issues. It's going to be a totally different beast from going from a turboprop PC-12 to a PC-24. Same thing for the SR-22, Cirrus SR-22 aircraft, which is a propeller-driven aircraft, going to a Vision Jet sort of thing where it has a nose radome on it. The way lightning attaches to those airplanes, the protection you got to put on the radomes is going to be completely different than what they've ever done before. So it's a new thing for them.
And the turboprop engine itself, is there any issues with lightning? Could lightning hit a propeller? Could it go into the engine itself? Yeah. So how does that not? That seems like crazy risky, but
it is.
Apparently they're very safe. So how do you work that out?
Well, I'll give you the King Air example because I worked there for a couple of years. The King Airs get struck on the props quite often, just because of at least on the B200, the 350 gets a little bit longer nose, and so the nose can take more strikes. But on a lot of those kind of mid-level turboprops, the props are the most prominent feature. So the props get struck, and that forces energy through the props into the main part of the engine through the bearings. And it's the bearings that everybody worries about. So you got this huge compressor system that's spinning on these very expensive bearings. You have to go in and tear the engine apart, inspect the bearings. If the bearings are good, you put them back, but most likely they're not good. So you're going to pull the bearings out, put fresh bearings back in it, put the whole engine back together. So it involves a complete teardown of the engine usually as part of the lightning inspection of the aircraft. So you don't want to fly around. Then there's no need for a King Air to be flying around thunderstorms, especially since it has a radar in it, and it's had a radar forever. So you should be able to avoid thunderstorms in a King Air. Plus, it's just not fun to fly in. I've been in a lot of King Air. I spent a lot of times in King Airs, and you don't want to be flying around convective activity if you can avoid it. So it's expensive when a King Air gets struck. It's also bouncy and a little bit scary when that happens, just being around the thunderstorms. So it's just best to avoid the thunderstorms altogether.